All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight, so stick around. We'll be getting right into it. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf. This is Marfoogle TV. USAF is now ready to make all B-52 nuclear-capable load ICBMs with multiple warheads if directed. Funny, because this is all happening after, obviously nothing's going on and everybody's just shooting down party balloons, right? Again, and all of the stuff with the Mexican Senate approving U.S. going, all this stuff is just crazy talk. U.S. Air Force Global Strike Command says it's prepared to load more warheads into Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile ICBMs, and of course, this is all going on right now. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. We're going to talk about the warplane also being up in the sky, but again, nothing's going on, no unusual, no TAMs here. We're going to go over that right now, right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, and just a quick thank you. Thank you to all the people that have been helping support us through just absolutely a crazy algorithmic time. Thank you for everybody that shares our show out. Thank you for everybody that supports us through PayPal and otherwise. We couldn't thank you enough. All right, you guys, let's get started. We're going to go right back into the news. And again, there are a lot of really, really crazy stories happening right now, as you may know. Obviously, I just put out a few videos over on Marfoogle News. I hope that all of you got a chance to see them. Beyond, me being crazy excited about vindication and scared to hell about it all happening, this is all coming very, very fast. Of course, in this next year, we're going to see a lot of things happen, and I think a lot of your detractors and mine will all have a foot in their mouth because this is all actually happening. It's not something that anybody wants to see, of course, but it is, again, something that is unfortunately happening right now. The entire world is flipped topsy-turvy right now, and everybody can blame one person or the other, or this president or that president. But the fact is, right now, we have multiple countries unstable, and this is going to be something that is going to continue. So, yeah, this is, it says there are 400 current Minuteman IIIs also designated LGM-30Gs loaded in silos spread across 5 states. Each one is topped with a single W-78 or W-87 warhead of the Air Force's 76 B-52 bombers. 30 are currently only capable of employing conventional munitions. This posture had helped the United States meet its obligations under the New START Treaty. The treaty had put hard caps on the total number of deployed strategic missiles and bombers, strategic nuclear warheads, and relevant deployed and non-deployed launchers that the United States and Russia could have at any time. The conclusion of New START allows us to streamline our focus and dedicate more resources to our core mission, ensuring a safe, secure, and effective nuclear deterrent. So what is changing in the background that is essentially having them outfit all of them and put nuclear weapons, if directed, on all of them? I'm telling you, it's not going to look pretty, but it's also not going to be the end of the world. This is all stuff that they try to do to deter things, and it's so wild to be in a world where we essentially pull out all of the weapons when we're trying to stop something from happening. Very, very crazy. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So just a reminder, we're also going to be talking about, of course, the video that went super viral. Now there is actual art. It's crazy because I knew right when I saw this video over on Jordan's Twitter, I knew that it was going to be talked about. And of course, this video that ended up going viral, I showed you guys this earlier, is what they're saying is a mothership off the coast. And I'm not talking about ET. I'm talking more about, GE and his forces potentially pushing boundaries or testing our ADIZ. And they're not going to talk about this because, again, they're making sure that everybody thinks that everything is just fine. Meanwhile, all of our military, multiple armadas, troops being sent in, 112 frickin' Globe Masters are being sent in at the same time as China is sending in, 50 Y-20s in to Iran. Like, this is a setup for war, and people are going, oh, don't worry, over the weekend, the worst thing that happened was a party balloon was popped. I highly doubt this. And we're going to go over the official narrative of that too, because it just keeps getting absolute nuttier. It's like when they realize, oh, everybody realizes that this cover story doesn't work. Then everybody starts going, okay, let's alter this cover story. Then let's make it more realistic of a stupid story. Make the administration look bad or make them look like they're irresponsible. Again, it's just, it's one thing after another. Dex, let's go back into the news. We're going to talk about, of course, Chinese criminal gang allegedly recruited Navy members for sham marriages and base access. Wow.
Yeah, imagine that. So 11 people were charged in Florida in an alleged marriage fraud scheme that involved the recruitment of U.S. military service members to marry Chinese citizens. The scheme was orchestrated by a Chinese transnational gang that recruited military members to participate in fraudulent marriages so the Chinese citizens could obtain immigration benefits and access cards for U.S. military installations, according to Immigration and Custom Enforcement. So the investigation underscores a critical role that HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, plays in protecting our nation from transnational criminal organizations that seek to exploit our customs and immigration laws and threaten our national security. Through the dedication and expertise of our agents and partners, we have successfully investigated, disrupted, and dismantled a sophisticated criminal network operating across the border. So these sham marriages took place around the country, including Jacksonville, Florida, New York, Connecticut, and Nevada. To bolster the claims that the marriages were genuine, the suspects would take photographs of the couples to create evidence that could be presented to immigration authorities to suggest that they were in loving, committed relationships. In reality, the suspects had agreed to a payment plan where the U.S. citizen spouse would receive a cash payment up front for marrying the Chinese national, a second payment when the legal immigration status was obtained, and a final payment after divorce. And then they go on to talk about how they were working on getting these cards and access cards and other things. So, yeah, kind of a big deal here, especially when you think about getting access to bases.
I just talked to Jacob Israel earlier today, and one thing, whether, in our niche, it's either people like you or you don't like you, but one thing that we both have in common is we both get that. But we also both get like, oh, they're just trying to like pump themselves up. Meanwhile, there's others that are like, constantly like, hey, I had a dream last night that this is going to happen. When it doesn't happen, they're like saying tomorrow the end of the world is coming. And then when the end of the world doesn't happen, people are like, oh, well, we prayed it away today. So that's why it didn't happen. We give our guesses based on watching this stuff for years and years and years. And one thing that I think Jacob has too, that a lot of other people have, is a discernment, and they start seeing patterns. And you start seeing patterns and you start seeing the future. And this isn't a crystal ball. It's not perfect. But one thing it is it's more accurate than the people that aren't watching the geopolitics around the world. When you see these actions, you start to get a pattern, because we are only human, right? People think that the rich and elite are so much smarter than us. Another thing that, stuck out to me on that Epstein interview that came out about 11 days ago was he was pointing out that the rich and the most powerful and the elite in the world, he goes, I thought that these people were all going to be like super smart. And he goes, in reality, they're really not. They're just popular. And that was one of the truest things he said. All these people, he goes, yeah, they were good at this or that, or they were good at something, but it really wasn't that they were super smart. Some of these people, without saying it, he was basically saying they were stupid. So if you really think about it, it's really not that hard if you have some basic psychology, you look at what they're doing and look at the patterns they're doing, and then you know even a basic understanding of the kind of experiments they've done on groupthink, then you start to understand that it's really, really easy to get a lot of people, very gullible people, to believe in something, and then understand that the psychology is 9 out of 10 people believe this thing, then the 10th person ends up believing it. You just keep telling people that something is true, and then they go, yeah, it's true. And when you control all the media, and I'm not saying that there's one single guy like Mr. Claw going, blah, 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 we control it all. It's a group. I mean, it goes back to what he also talked about, the Trilateral Alliance. All of this stuff, people want to call it this group or that group or this group. We're not absolutely sure. We know that there's Masons, this, that. There's all sorts of this, that, and the third in there. But what we do know is that there are the very rich and powerful, the very, very, very royal and very in power people that all congregate, and they communicate differently even. If you think they don't, watch that freaking documentary on Charles. The guy talks about, how he implants mathematical designs in the things he does, even his garden, and then breaks in after he shows a triangle temple that looks like the all-seeing eye, then goes, hey, oh yeah, we're just talking about religion. Religion is also part of a spirit, right? And then a 5-minute break-in into about an organic gardening documentary, he goes into sacred geometry. It's like, what? It's proof that they do. They think that 99% of us are so dumb. They're from academic circles that know basic, advanced math, and they go, oh, well, instead of knowing Spanish or Chinese, our second language is math and mathematical stuff, and basically, they believe they're so smart and that we are so stupid that they could use that to communicate. Well, right now, they've been very clearly communicating what's going on here. These sham marriages, think about the map of farmland that was bought all by our bases. And now you have sham marriages, getting IDs to get into these places. Like, are people just slow? I mean, this is obviously some sort of big, much, much bigger thing. And when you look at every action and reaction that the United States has taken, it really looks like we are already in World War III. And because of the internet and the new thing called the cell phone and psyops, they literally have people thinking that we're not in World War III. This is a war against a very, very massive country that is coming up in our rearview mirror. And the sooner that people realize that, and sooner that people look at the common denominator of every single country that's having problems, the sooner that we'll all be more prepared for what's coming. Chinese criminal gang? They're calling it Chinese criminal gang? Yeah. It's called the CCP. Just my opinion, though. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Go look at the map of the property bought by our bases by connected souls to that 3-letter agency, aka the CCP. Pentagon lets CBB use anti-drone laser before FAA closed El Paso airspace, AP says. So Dex, do you want to talk about this? And this is more of the official kind of narrative.
Well, I don't know if I call it official. It's another narrative. It seems like they go after everything they possibly can at this point. But basically, they're saying the Pentagon allowed the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol to use an anti-drone laser earlier this week, leading to the Federal Aviation Administration to suddenly close the airspace over El Paso. According to, this is why I say take it with a grain of salt, 2 people familiar with the situation who spoke on the condition of anonymity, meaning anybody can make this crap up. But the confusing arc of events began as the FAA announced it was shutting down, which we all know. We've talked about this at length. But one of the people said the laser was deployed near Fort Bliss without coordinating with the FAA, which decided then to close the airspace to ensure commercial air safety. Others familiar with the matter said the technology was used despite a meeting scheduled for later this month between the Pentagon and the FAA to discuss the issue. So, but, I guess according to these secret anonymous sources, it's not the DoD. It was the, CPB, DHS that did it, but they were using the thing from the DoD. And then the FAA was out of the loop, so they just closed the airspace. If we're supposed to believe all that.
And again, they said this was all confusing. It all stemmed from this event, right? It says one of the people said that the laser was deployed near Fort Bliss without coordinating with the FAA. First of all, everybody who has commented on this that is in this loop says that there is absolutely no lack of coordination between these groups, especially when it comes to civilian aviation. They are overly cautious about almost everything and absolutely everything. It says, coordinating with the FAA then decided to close the airspace to ensure commercial air safety. Others familiar with the matter. When they use these things constantly, they say familiar with the matter. That these anonymous people that were on the condition of anonymity, if they're telling secrets like this without permission, it is treason, or you're a traitor, right? A lot of the times they give them permission to say this, so they're telling them, hey, let's have these two say it was this and this. This whole party balloon thing, I think that they thought that this wasn't going to be as big of a deal. Well, then you also don't think about, people, just not believing the story. We covered this earlier in Marfoogle News. This was the video that was posted by Jordan Crowder. And this is not Jordan's video. He got this. There was a gentleman who posted this to Enigma, an app, hours before the El Paso event. And he talks about a gray mass off of the water that is essentially releasing things underneath.
And there was stuff coming out from the bottom of it.
We're not talking about ET, we're talking about G. And if you look at the reaction, it makes so much more sense that this was an unknown craft with unknown drones. They initially came out. Pam Bondi initially said that this was cartel drones from Mexico, and they were thinking something was going on. This is what I think. I think that they believed, that whoever this was or whatever this was pushed into our actual ADIZ, did not identify itself because it's an unmanned drone aircraft carrier, in my opinion, and it was pushing the boundaries to test our response. If we just straight up shoot this down in the borders of our ADIZ, then we are possibly, in a war with somebody, and we don't know who. I bet they knew who it was pretty quickly. They resolved it. They probably called China. China probably denied it. They said, oh, no. They may have said, oh, well, we sold some tech to Iran, or we did this or that. Who knows? But I don't believe the official narrative. And the people that, oh, it was just them trying to shoot it. They capitalized on something that is very easy to do. And this administration has done this many times. They capitalize on the thing that they actually know people think about the administration. Sometimes they throw themselves under the bus because they know it's so easy to believe. When Pete Hegseth is thrown under the bus because there's so many people, about half the country, that don't like him, it's very easy to go, oh, look at the incompetence. They were just shooting a laser around in the sky that could have knocked down a plane. That doesn't seem very likely. And then they say, oh, it was a small party balloon. They didn't even say it was a big balloon. They didn't even say it was a Chinese spy balloon or a potential spy balloon or even a big party balloon. They're saying that it was a normal freaking happy birthday balloon, and this laser took it out accidentally at one point. And then they were saying, no, it was part of a drill. They've changed the story many times. When there is such a confusing story like this, when it comes out like this, and then they just keep going back and forth, why are they even covering it? If this was something they really didn't care about, why are they continuing to give us these, oh, well, it was because of this, it was because of that. Why is it still being covered? Well, that's because people will not be quiet about it. People are like, this is a bunch of BS. They're saying that in El Paso, there was this weird mothership thing. Now, are they going to play the UFO angle? They could. I don't think this is ET. This could be something far, far more nefarious. Mind you, right now, Cuba is being starved out. You have Maduro that got taken out. You've got Iran with an armada surrounding them. And you have China that is now shipping multiple loads of military gear and stuff to Iran for a war. 112, C-17 Globemasters. This spells something far crazier. Again, go read this tweet. They did a great job of putting together of how absolutely just stupid it is. This one's over 100,000 views. The other video's over 1 million now. So there's enough people out there that question this. And this was much after I said, this is just stupid. I'm glad that I went on the record, because at the time I went on the record, everybody's saying, no, it's this, and nobody questioned it. I'm glad that people got the sense about them to question the damn thing. Because for a second there, I felt like I was out on a freaking, walking the plank. Like I was the only one that saw through this stupid stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Again, this is a device that will protect you against not only an EMP blast from any of our adversaries, but it will also protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. If you haven't seen an EMP Shield, again, this is a very, very smart and very easy device used by the same tech and same agencies like DHS, DOD, DOW, DHS, and of course FBI and Air Force, and the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This is, again, the same company and the only company you can get this from, EMP Shield. You cannot get it in the stores. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You get $50 off per device, grandfathered in on top of any sale that they run. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. This is not going to do you any good. It's not going to get you home to your family or get out to bug out, have your generators, cars, trucks, motorcycles working if it's after the fact. All right, and then we have eyewitness videos of this mysterious craft over El Paso upends the Trump administration's party balloon. Now, I'm not again, we just showed you a small clip of that video. If you remember, when this was being posted, nobody was talking about this. No media was talking about this. This got big enough that they absolutely, it just completely caused chaos for their freaking narrative. Even if this is total BS, even if this was somehow AI, even if this was just somebody capitalizing on the moment, it most definitely had enough people questioning the official narrative that's why it's still being talked about 2 days later. Dex, do you want to talk about what they said in this article? They basically said that this video upended their whole, party balloon claims.
Yeah, I think there's a couple pictures in here that may be worth looking at, because they've got some clarity to them so that we can see the blob a little better than from that video clip. So you can kind of see the distance there under the red arrow, and then I think there's another close-up where they kind of crop in, so you can kind of see the shape of that hovering blob. Of course, some skeptics, dismissed it and said it's, not, why is the picture so blurry? Why is the camera so blurry? But I mean, look, it's a cell phone, I'm sure, and some guy on the side of the road. So how much quality are you expecting in an object that's so far away? But look, it is, it is what we showed. It is what they're talking about.
And it's the timing. The timing, it was hours before. The one thing that was verified is hours before they shut down airspace for 10 days, and they put out unusual notices. Again, it points out, it does a great job of putting together the fact that it says this is not the airport airspace. This is the specific block of airspace over the East Portillo Mountains, a rugged, desolate area of the west of El Paso. Airport reopened, but this box remains sealed off. There are still parts that are sealed off right now. Again, while everyone was looking at the airport, FAA quietly issued a TFR just to the west. So there's still these weird things that are going on here that they're not explaining, and they're not, they're saying, oh, it's because of a freaking party balloon. People are so easy to believe the first thing that makes a logical sense, that makes them feel better. But unfortunately, in the near future, it's going to be better that you realize that these bad things are coming, because you're going to know that they're happening. The people that put their head in the sand for the rest of the time, when the lights go out, when your phone turns off, when your car doesn't start, those people are going to be in the first 72 hours sitting and waiting, like the PSA in New York says, sit, wait, and wait for us to come get you, or wait for us to tell you more. Those people are going to perish. I'm telling you, it's going to be imperative when you know more than others. Information is going to be the most powerful tool in survival that you'll ever have. And not sitting there, waiting for somebody to tell you that something's wrong is something that should be part of your fight or flight response. Like, it shouldn't be something that you have to be told, like, figure it out. Something is massively wrong with this story. This is our border. This is freaking Texas. People should be asking if this was truly a test. Dex, you made a great point. If if this is just a test and they're shooting down balloons, even what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, if it's a test, it still has effects to the sky. So they would have told the FAA to, stay out of the area or clear traffic, or if they needed to do it by the airport, they would have shut it down. Doesn't necessarily add up.
But what you said, it's like, realize why they're testing this. They're testing to knock drones out of the sky on our borders. I mean, it's like, this is something where you now have corresponding stories that if they are true, and if all of these are confirmed. Again, they said that this was an alert that went out, and we're verifying this as we go on. U.S. Special Forces are authorized to enter Mexico by vote, not of our Senate, but of a Mexican Senate. With 105 votes in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention, the full Mexican Senate approved the entry of Navy SEALs to participate in an exercise improving the capability of the Special Operations Forces. So under something like that, if that happens, and again, the one thing we don't know is if the Senate is like our Senate, because if it was like our Senate, you still have steps to go and you could still have the president veto it, right? But if it is different, or if they still have these, or if it does go through, that is a very, very quick way to get Navy SEALs into Mexico and under the cover of an exercise, and it would be completely under the radar. Nobody's really talking about that. Like right now, as of today, all of these things happen. The warplane goes up, the Clipper is up. You've got the mobile war room roaming around. Like, what the hell is really going on? And then Kim Jong-un's daughter, close to being designated the future leader. I've said this many times, like, they're setting her up so she's going to be the future leader. Otherwise, they wouldn't have her in pictures walking in almost every picture in front of the fake or real missiles or whatever the heck they're doing. They popped this girl out of nowhere. They also introduced the sister, and the sister is, I'm guessing, something is going on. Maybe they can't keep up the charade. Maybe Kim Jong-un really did perish, and they have a puppet, a female puppet that they can actually mold. This could be straight up CIA, or it could be China's clandestine services, which nobody frickin' still knows what the name of it is. It could be their clandestine services growing this girl from a child to literally run North Korea and to be their puppet. And the thing is the reason why the sister comes in, back a few years ago, they said that Kim Jong-un possibly died. And then they were like, no, actually, he's in a coma. And then they're like, psych, he's recovered fully. And of course, this is in the same time period where the government already had AI videos, already was years ahead of everybody else as far as fake videos go. They have pictures of him walking with his hands behind his back. It's all the most typical photos. We've looked at a couple of them that had weird things like off-placed thumbs and double digits and things like that. And we're looking at this and we're going, why is this girl being introduced? Why do they have all of these, like, it's almost like a calendar, like, oh, here's our missiles, here's our nuclear program. It's always got her and him in front of these things, and it's basically introducing her. Well, what's the sister's part in it? I think that they're obviously introducing the fact that a woman would have power in that country. Before the sister was involved, just a couple weeks after he supposedly perished, it was reported across the world that he died in brain surgery or heart surgery. After that, Dennis Rodman said, hey, if you hear his sister talk, then there's real trouble. A week after that, his sister started talking for them. He said, if she, literally quote, if she starts talking for the family, there's an issue. Then she started talking for the family. In their religion, the one that includes, Kim Jong-un not having a bunghole, That, the whole thing that he's a god, he's so godly, he doesn't use the bathroom. In that whole thing, women weren't a part of that. Women were not in the power structure. They didn't ever have any kind of power in that country. Hence, you introduce that, you have your grown puppet, and then you go, oh, here we go, we can insert this person, but we're going to need to introduce some sort of female power structure to this because as old as time, it's always been a male ruler of North Korea. Introduce the sister, then grow the girl and grow her into a position where she is the perfect puppet, and then switch over power. Then Kim Jong-un has a mystery heart attack or something, and then boom, you've got a puppet by China put into North Korea that's making all of the decisions. In the meantime, you take over South Korea, you get rid of the president that was resisting, you put in puppets that you have in play with South Korea, you weaken the NATO alliance, you go after countries in NATO, you separate, you divide, and you create chaos, and then you literally dissolve all of our allies. It looks like what it's happening right now. It's absolutely nuts. Again, they are saying that they are designating the daughter as most likely the future leader. Well, didn't see that one coming. Yeah, right. Again, perfect puppet. Who knows? Could be a clone. All right, Bald Eagle, Dex, look up the Potomac River sewage disaster ongoing right now. It's not good. I've actually had a few emails about that. Again, thank you for the support. Bald Eagle 127. I appreciate that. And thank you. All right. Dex, I can look up, I'll pull up something on that. Do you want to talk about Russia?
They were saying, a big pipe had ruptured, dumping sewage into the Potomac River.
Yeah. And couldn't that screw up the groundwater and all sorts? It could poison or is that what they're talking?
It's like, the levels are super high. I mean, really, really bad. Pure raw sewage.
And how much area would that affect?
Well, it's dumping into the river. It's been happening for, I don't know if they ever stopped it. I thought it had been going on for a few days now, if not longer.
Huh. Well, that's not good. By the way, Stephen McMahon, thank you for being here. Hearts Alive AZ, thank you. One Wanley. In fact, let's quickly do just a quick roll call. Thank you from Flint 2.0. Oh, Flint 2.0, I get you. Look up Wayne WVA also. Hey, Laura Griffin, thank you for your input. And then YouTube Blows, Gnarly News. Of course, we've got Carol in the house, just some guy. Let's see here. Bobby Sue is in the house. We, of course, have Mark Schaefer. All right, and then we've got from Arizona, we have Starren. Sewage E-Coil, what is going on? Drops Homestead. Ilea's in the house. Nice to see you. It's getting absolutely nuts. Texas here, Blue Dazzlebug, Western New York, see here, think. Ryan, buy a coffee, old mate. Hey, thanks. And you remembered, I don't need beers from Tanzania. You're from Tanzania, right? Now I don't even think you have to say anymore. All right, and then Jeffrey Woolidge. Again, Mr. TM, thank you. What is going on from Northern Michigan? Jason Banning, OHIO. Wyoming, Milosh from Ohio, Mary Miles from Wyoming, and of course, so many more. Thank you guys for making it. So, Dex, why? Go ahead.
Going back to the Potomac, I mean, it's not an uncommon thing. Like here in Atlanta, we had that for a while, and it comes and goes at different times. But a lot of the waste facility treatment plants that are near water will dump, and they'll pay the fine. The fine is better than them fixing the problem. Like the problem costs more money than it does to pay the daily fine to dump sewage into
doesn't
the river.
That cause mold and different funguses on the beaches? And isn't that why they close beaches every once in a while?
When you cross over the Chattahoochee River on I-20, that is after the Chattahoochee River has left the city of Atlanta going by the water treatment plant. And it smells literally in the morning when it's dewy out. It smells like sewage when you're on the interstate crossing that river. It's been that way, for many decades now, in my opinion. Always smells like crap. And it takes until you get to Alabama for that water river to get cleaned up by Lake Eufaula.
We have
the people who go to West Point, that lake's pretty nasty, I think, from the city of Atlanta.
I feel like ours is called West Point too. In West Seattle, I think it's called West Point, maybe it's not. It's called West something. But we have a treatment plant. I know it because it was my 6th or 7th grade field trip to go to that place. It was actually, out of all my field trips, even though that place smelled horrible, they give you ear plugs for your nose. It was a 4-story facility. They showed you how they processed the stool and everything else. And the bottom floor where they get the snakes and rings and jewelry and wedding rings and all sorts of other stuff. That was one of my favorite field trips. It was super fascinating. But they all had graded floors because so many people that visit or inspectors, people come and they basically lose their lunch and it goes right through the floor. So they're used to that. It was disgusting. But yeah, that area of West Seattle always just smells horrible. I would imagine that they usually, and if releases like that happen, then they also need to put out water notices and say, hey, boil your water for the next week, or but that sounds pretty bad. And then Dex, do you want to talk about why is Russia moving to block WhatsApp, and why do you think that that's happening right now?
Well, it follows them shutting down Telegram. They've got their own official app that they're pushing, a state-owned surveillance app that they have, and they don't want anybody using outside state-owned surveillance apps, as they call them, like the Meta-owned WhatsApp. So they're shutting them all down. They shut down Telegram, which ironically was made by Russians, but then moved out of Russia. I don't remember what country they're based in now, but nonetheless, it was originally developed by Russian developers. But yeah, Telegram got shut down not too long ago, and now WhatsApp is happening. I think it's one of the things you see happen, as the country tries to gain greater control over its messaging, what's allowed in and what's allowed out. And it's the type of activity you see during wartime.
Yep, especially when big moves are being made, they do not want these kind of apps, encrypted apps, in their country running amok. And then we have, of course, Switzerland to vote on capping its population at 10 million. So, okay, I didn't quite understand this one. Why are they doing this, and what is the reasoning behind the 10 million cap?
Well, they're set to hold a vote on a proposal to cap the population at 10 million. The latest bid by the party is to limit immigration specifically, but, of course, there's the other side that's arguing for it, but they're saying that basically that is the limit at which they can sustain in their country. And the federal statistics say that Switzerland has about 9.1 million people as of the third quarter of 2025. So I just find it's interesting how, on one hand, you've got people talking about populations and how to manage them. And then, it's always been sort of a conspiracy on that, and now you've got countries getting their population to vote on actually putting a law in to cap it so that they can't grow any larger than the size that they
How do they enforce it? Like, you can only have one child, like China? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know the details of it. I think it's probably going to be more so
immigration,
focused on immigration, because that's the easy one. You just say close the door.
Well, and then I'm assuming it has a time, window, and obviously, maybe in that case, that people that are living there can have babies. They can get to 11 million naturally, but not unnaturally, I guess. I wonder what the actual small print on that says. And then we're going to talk about the child that changed a hotspot name. Minutes later, Israeli fighter jets were airborne. We'll talk about that here in a second. That's incredibly interesting, too. Before we do, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/prep. You do not need a code for this one. Again, this is a link that once you use, you will get any discounts that are applied. Make sure to use that link, though. Again, marfooglenews.com/prep if you want to get the best deal on, say, a 1-month supply or a 3-month supply. Those rotate. They have such huge discounts on them, hundreds and hundreds of dollars off on freeze-dried food that will last 25 plus years. So that means this will be good until into the 2050s. Again, this is going to be a lifesaver in not the end of the world, but in a storm or in a hurricane or an earthquake. Any situation where you're cut off, where you don't have anywhere to go and get these things. in Hurricane Katrina. If you don't want to be one of those people out there looting to get food or bread, then definitely have something like this on hand. It's going to be easy to store. It is sealed into Mylar bags and then sealed into buckets, waterproof buckets that, boom, you can store and have, of course, anywhere you need. It takes up very little space. 3 months is compacted into just the smallest amount of space. So if you really think about it, it's a space-saving measure at the same time as a life-saving measure. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Also, highly recommended, go check out the Alexa Pure water purification system. If you think about what just happened with the Potomac River, it's like stuff like that is happening all the time and they don't tell us. This gets rid of 99.9% of the contaminants, lead, fluoride, chlorine, bacteria, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, pretty much everything. And again, you can do this for your regular tap water. Most people don't trust the tap water anymore. I mean, that's just a fact. If you want something like this that can do a whole lot at once, this is a great system. It is comparable to the 1 or 2 names that everybody knows just because they're like the Q-tip of the water filtration. But it is at a comparable price. It is literally at a fraction of that price. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, and then Dex, how did a child change a hotspot name and trigger jets?
All right, so yeah, this was kind of crazy. So they were flying on Wizz Air, which I guess is like the Spirit Air of say Europe, going from London to Israel. As they were approaching Israel airspace, a passenger noticed this phrase that caused alarm, and they notified the flight attendants, who then notified the captain, who then aired it down. And before you know it, they have jets riding their wingtips. Literally, the Israeli Air Force fighter jets scrambled and followed this plane very closely on its way in, while they tried to determine if there was really a threat. So what had happened was an ultra-Orthodox couple on board had been broadcasting a personal hotspot on their phone, and their child decided to rename it using the Arabic word for terrorist. Another passenger's device detected the hotspot name, and then they interpreted that as a direct threat. So when that popped up on someone else's phone, when they're looking for a hotspot, or it asked if they wanted to join that hotspot, and it's got that name, that got them concerned.
They probably thought, oh, somebody's trying to signal us and say, hey, there's somebody on board, and it ends up being like a prank. Or this could be something else. Question everything. Don't just accept the narrative that they give you. Question it. Like, what the hell happened here? Why was Israel, wingtip to wingtip on this plane? This sounds like a reasonable explanation, but is it?
Yeah. And look, if you're a passenger on that plane, you had a rough day, because they literally brought in the dogs, they brought in everything, they searched everybody, they slowed down the whole process. Obviously, taking it with great level of sincerity, and then at the end of it all was just a stern warning to the child, because they weren't going to arrest anybody over it. They realized that it was not done maliciously. It was just done by a kid being a kid. So, and everybody was allowed on their way, but that took a long time. So imagine if that's your plane and you're trapped in the airport dealing with that type of kerfuffle. That's not fun.
No Chuck E. Cheese for his birthday. And then we have, of course, all of the different information here that, all of this is coming out. I got to talk about this. Hold on. Let me pull this up. So this is let's pull it up on X here. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Bam. And let's go. Okay, so let me pull this up. Okay, so I was going to pull up this and here, let me make sure that I have this here. So as all of this is going down, as all of this happening right now, I'm trying to find this update here, because there is a new update to what we had. In fact, I'll use Grok because that will be the easiest way to find out what's absolutely accurate to the moment here. Boom. Okay. And this may take a second here for it to pull it up. So the Boeing C-40 Clipper, a military transport aircraft, a variant of the Boeing 737 used by the U.S. Air Force, again, the flying office has been flying around. As for, of course, they actually said that a USAF C-40 Clipper operating under call sign SAM 185 just landed in Caracas, Venezuela from Joint Base Andrews. So it was airborne very recently, but now is on the ground. Again, military flights like this often appear sites like Flight Radar, blah, blah, blah. Again, they are talking about this plane because essentially this all happened. Everything happened right after this whole incident that happened with the frickin' party balloon, right? All of this at the same time as they're talking about China also sending in more to Iran. Potential Navy, Chinese Navy is moving around. And now military members are saying that they are heavily, heavily concerned about the Chinese Navy and what they are doing in this last 48 hours. So what the heck is going on? Was it just simply an overreaction or a miscommunication? Or did something bigger happen? Just like with the false missile alert where they told everybody, oh, the guy just pushed the wrong button. We all know that that's stupid. It wasn't a button. It wasn't a Staples button. It was a frickin' drop down, and there was plenty of options other than that. And he had many, many, many chances to back out. He didn't. And he scared the hell out of an entire island of Hawaiians, right? Well, just with the same thing with that, people go, oh, don't worry about it. He just hit the wrong button. Don't believe the official narrative. It's almost never exactly what it says. So again, this is very, very crazy stuff. Make sure to have, again, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out Jace. You can get, of course, antibiotics on hand. Go to marfuglenews.com/Jace. Thank you, everybody, for making it today. Thank you so much for the Ryans and the Zidesias, Kikianga, what is going on, Bald Eagle, Wages World. Thank you for gifting memberships tonight. Milosh, thank you for hitting 12 months. Got the freeze dryer. Next is the EMP shield. OHIO. I'm glad. That's very awesome. It is a whole hobby in itself. Again, that's awesome, awesome, awesome. Wages World, thank you. 33 months, baby. Uh-oh. Yeah, now people are going to think you're signaling it. Again, thank you. Zidesia, check my playlist, Foogle Fam. Again, we've listed all of the tweets, all of the videos, all of the appropriate information is over on marfuglenews.com. China did what? Again, that has everything that we went over here, including pictures, articles, tweets, everything. So make sure to go check that out. And while you're there, then go click on the Friends tab. You'll find all of our awesome mods from Bones to Wages, everybody in between, like Ilea, Trinity, Red, gosh, I always do that. Red or Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog. Of course, you've got Jammer, of Bobby Sue, our most wonderful mod now. Again, Chance, and of course, Jammer and everyone in that crew is awesome. So make sure to go check them out. marfuglenews.com/friends. Thank you, Dex, for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Remember, you have access to all of this and more over on marfuglenews.com. There will be no shoutro tonight. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Much love. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. I hope that everybody shares out that news video. Food, water, and family.